Hello everyone, here is another Ask Ron with Mr. Ron LeGrand himself. So we first start out with Chris Bond today from Florida.
Yeah, congratulations you guys for sending in so many questions. We had so many of them last week we couldn't get them all in. So Chris, what do we got?
Okay, I have been asked to provide proof of funds letter for a property because the owner has been through the process before of owner financing and then having to foreclose on the property to get it back, pay the legal fees, and had to pay for the damages and just don't want to have to go through this again.
Okay.
What's the best comeback or what can I do about the proof of funds letter?
Well, Chris, you didn't tell me what you need proof of funds for. So normally proof of funds is when you're paying all cash. If you're not paying all cash, then it's irrelevant. What funds do you need? You didn't tell me if you're putting up a down payment. You didn't God give me some input before I can give you some output. So is your seller under the impression that you are going to pay all cash? And you may not be sharing that impression. I think maybe you need to get clarity. Of course, you're going to ask the seller, what's the least you can take for the house? And then you're going to go, I usually put nothing down. And then he's going to, if he comes back and says, I won't do nothing, then how close to zero can you get? If you don't get the answers to those questions, which are right on my scripts, then you don't have a terms deal. Now, if it's an all-cash deal and he wants proof of funds, you better ask yourself, okay, where am I going to get the cash? Because if it's from a private lender, the private lender can produce the proof of funds. So I don't know. I mean, that's all I can tell you when I don't have any more information than you gave me.
Okay. Our next one is from Arty Mancini of Florida. We have a lot of Florida ones today. I have already an LLC that I opened and an S-corp for a previous business I have. I'm a chiropractor and use the S-corp for my chiropractor stuff. I will be starting a self-directed IRA. Will the IRA be able to be an owner of the LLC, and if so, how do I get it there?
No, the IRA cannot own an LLC you currently own. Once your IRA is open, then it can form an LLC, but it cannot buy one you own, or it can't buy anything, in fact, that you have anything to do with, or anybody in your lineage of descent, or your spouses, or from any entity you control. So if it forms one. Plus you've got the IRS issue. If let's say your IRA buys a LLC that's making $50,000 a year and your purchase price is $1,000, say, IRS ain't going to buy that. Okay, it has to be a reasonable transaction. So if you're forming an LLC and has nothing in it, then put $1,000 in it, and that's a reasonable price to form an LLC that has nothing. So anyway, no assets can go into your IRA except cash.
Okay. The other questions he has go along that.
Well, let me rephrase that. I mean, from you, understand. Your IRA can buy about anything, but you can only contribute up to $6,000 a year in cash and no other assets.
Okay. He also says, I am also putting my residence in a land trust with the LLC as trustee and the S-corp as beneficiary. What are your thoughts on that?
You and your spouse should be the beneficiary. But it's okay to have your LLC be the trustee. You don't want entities involved in the ownership of your home. Might create tax issues and maybe even insurance issues. So just make you and your spouse the beneficial interest. And what state is he in?
Florida.
Oh, if you're married, you want to take title. You want to have the beneficiary be you and your spouse, tenants by the entirety. Make note of that, tenants by the entirety.
Okay, good deal. Our next one from Mario Sinclair of Florida.
Mario.
Recently, I've asked a realtor friend that I'm doing a deal with to put a property I had an option to buy contract on the MLS with a limited exposure. That is, I will be willing to share the deposit from my tenant buyer with him. He told me that such a deal couldn't be done. I couldn't rightly answer him back because I didn't know.
Here's your answer. Find another realtor. Okay, because he's wrong. He's dead wrong. I've done it myself all over the country. He's full of crap. What he should have told you is, I don't know how to do it, because that's the right answer.
Okay.
Okay, and a realtor can agree to whatever commission you and them agree upon. And I mean, they're not breaking any rules by taking a percentage of the down payment. In fact, that's how we sold that big house we had in Las Vegas. Realtor actually got a $100,000 commission. They had to wait a year, and we got the front end deposit of $150,000, and the realtor agreed to take a percentage of the cash, and that's the way I do all those high-end houses. I list them. The realtor gets a percentage of the down payment they bring to the table, and I don't go over 25%.
Okay. Our next one is from Donny Minor of Ohio.
Donnie?
Hi, Ron. I have a question. I have a possible deal. The house is worth about $20,000. The seller said
20,000? Is there?
Not 200,000.
Oh, 200,000.
That was on my fault.
Okay.
The seller said that he would sell on a lease purchase for $185,000.
Okay.
And the house does need a little bit of work. It's all cosmetic.
Got it.
And he said he is giving me a 5-year term. Is it possible to convert a lease purchase to a wrap mortgage down the road?
No, if you're leasing it from the seller, you can't sell it. You don't own it. So you got to buy it with owner financing. What you can do in Ohio, is that Ohio? Buy it with a land contract. They're very, very common in Ohio. And then you actually own the property, even though the deed's staying in the seller's name until you pay him off. So if you buy it on a land contract, you can resell it on a land contract. However, I wouldn't do that. I'd put a lease option tenant buyer in there. And if you buy it on a land contract, you can lease option it, but or you can sell it with a land contract. But again, don't sell it with owner financing. Keep it. I'm not going to go through all that right now, but there's a lot of reasons why you should not turn loose of the title of the property.
Is there anywhere they can go for that information?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't know where to tell them to go in the Gold Club, but the reality is you're going to lose depreciation, and you can't get that when you lease it. You're going to lose the chance to go, if the tenant moves out, you're going to go do it again, collect another big deposit. And if you sell it, you're going to lose the debt pay down. You're going to lose all that kind of stuff. Just put a tenant buyer in it. Plus, it's easier to get them out if you have to reclaim the property.
Good deal. Okay. Our last one's from Michael Putnam of Michigan.
Okay, Michael.
Oftentimes I hear that the monthly payment includes principal and interest, also taxes and insurance.
Usually.
My question is, which insurance is being spoken of here? Hazard insurance and or homeowners or liability insurance?
Well, all the above, because it's all in one policy. Hazard and homeowners includes the liability coverage. But that's for an owner-occupant. When you buy the house as a non-owner occupant, your insurance will be a lot less than their insurance. But that ain't going to change the payment this year because the mortgage company's already paid the policy for the year. So it's not going to change till next year when the mortgage company gets the new policy at a lower rate. Then next year when they write the check, they'll write it at the lower rate. If you're talking about a non-owner occupied property, look up NREIG, NREIG insurance, and they'll cut your rates way down, and they're all over America. And by the way, they could care less how you own the property.
Okay, and that is it for this.
That's all? Okay. Yeah. All right, guys, good questions. Keep them coming. I'll see you next week. Go make a mess.